the unsungness, the underdog, the vilification. I felt that it was very unfair, and I felt that I had to stand up and fight for him. Starving and underweight as an actor is a luxury. Being starving and underweight as a director is a curse. And one slap is the first thing that I would like to say. He was very dangerous. He was using Sam, Dam, Danda, Bhed. And promises made to the enemy are not meant to be kept. That oftentimes I used to forget to take my own shot. And I said, okay, move on. Let's put the camera here. And then he said, your Savarkar's shot we have not taken. The following chosen government, not elected, formed by the Indian National Congress, had the same fear which the British had. If I was to make a movie about Mr. Nehru, as sincerely as I've had made Mr. Savarkar, what would you call me then? So he caught hold of some French policemen and he said, arrest me. And he was in a frenzy and he was in a loincloth and he looked like something else. He said, arrest me. And they did not understand English. It is the Indian National Congress that killed his story. शायद यही क्रांति है. शायद हमें अपने घर में आग लगानी होगी ताकि हजारों लाखों घरों में स्वतंत्रता का दीप चल सके.
Hi, this is Sheetal. Welcome to Pinkvilla. Today we're going to talk about a hero who is unheard, unsung, unacknowledged and unhonored. Now let me tell you that I'm getting into a conversation with the one and only Randeep Hooda, who is all getting up for the release of his next movie, Savarkar. Hi.
Hi.
Welcome to Pinkvilla.
Thank you.
You know, I just want to start off by saying that with whatever knowledge we have about history, Hamari history, I want to ask you the first question, is Savarkar ji a traitor or a fighter? क्योंकि ये सिर्फ मैं ही नहीं पूरी दुनिया कहती है.
I am quite surprised that this is the first question. No, he was a fighter. I have no idea why somebody could even classify a man who the British kept in captivity for 27 years as a traitor. If he was a traitor, then why was he in captivity? Why did he not get a Aga Khan palace, or why did he not get a fiefdom, or why did he not get the money and all that? So it is absolutely very maligning misinformation given to people that he was a traitor. You don't keep traitors in captivity for 27 years of their lives.
You know, when you tell this, there's a lot of narrative that goes that इनको वीर क्यों बुलाया जाता है ना? इनको माफी वीर बुलाना चाहिए. So what is your take on that?
One slap is the first thing that I would like to say, because माफी वीर, चलो उसमें वीर तो लगाया.
हाँ.
मैं तो अब ये बोलने लग गया हूँ. चलो उसमें वीर तो लगाया. देखिए, माफी वीर is a term that was coined in the 90s, where when a certain party was losing electoral might to another party, and that party had Hindutva as one of its founding principles. So what do? You attack the ideologue or the father of Hindutva, which was Vinayak Damodar Savarkar, as a political tool to malign him and say all these things. This maafi that he never apologized, so such. Those maafi namas, or what do you want to call them, they were actually bail pleas, which are available in every judicial system, even in the colony, when we were a colony, and post that. If you ever are in touch with the law or you are incarcerated, you have a legal opportunity and a system to apply for a bail to A, lessen your punishment, or B, to prove yourself innocent, or many such things. And he himself was a lawyer. So he wrote it for himself, and not just for himself, for many, many other prisoners in Kalapani. And he is to include in that, if letting me free is an impediment in this gesture of goodwill and generosity on the part of the government, may I be exempted from it. So he got hundreds of prisoners free from Kalapani with his own, because he's a lawyer, very educated person. And then they often highlight his language. your humble servant, yours obediently, this serve the government and all that. Now, you are applying for bail, you cannot be abusing the government, first of all. Secondly, at that time the language was such, whenever, if you ever been a part of any court proceedings, you would know, or if you don't, ask somebody, how do you address the honorable court as humbly and as meekly as possible so that you would be heard, right? Plus, when we write applications in school, when they teach us to write applications, you say,
Yeah.
to respected
Yours
principal,
sincerely
yours
and all of that,
sincerely,
yeah.
yours truly, yours obediently.
Right.
So that is a form of writing such applications. And if he was apologizing, if he was doing that, then why didn't the British let him go?
Yeah.
Because they knew he was very dangerous. He was using Sam, Dam, Danda, Bhed. And promises made to the enemy are not meant to be kept. They are a tool to get out of that situation when your back's against the wall, to attack them another day. And the British knew that about him.
You know, when you say all of this, and this is a thought I had after looking at the trailer also. By the way, congratulations, the trailer looks amazing.
Thank you.
I had two thoughts while looking at the trailer.
Yes.
One is that, why have we never learnt about this in school, right? We know very little history that they teach us, you know, with the Mughal Empire and, you know, Gandhiji and whatever we've learned, but this name is hardly heard in the school. तो ऐसा क्यों होता है कि हमको इनके बारे में सिखाया नहीं जाता?
Because like to the British, the following chosen government, not elected, formed by the Indian National Congress, had the same fear which the British had. He was a great influencer. He could convince people. He was a writer. His writings influenced people. In fact, his book, which turned the point of view of 1857 being a Sepoy mutiny into the first war of independence, which he wrote in 1907. I was taught in school 1857 Sepoy mutiny. Why? When that thing had already changed, the point of view had changed, and that book had inspired so many armed revolutionaries over the years, including all the ones I've included in the thing. For picture, people are giving some vague paragraph here and there. They should read the history. Similarly, when he came out of Kala Pani, 3 years he was kept in jail in the mainland. And then it was recommended that you cannot release this man without conditions. So he was released with 2 conditions: that he'll not partake in any political activity, he'll not, or a political or revolutionary activity, or religious activity. So those conditions was put on him for 5 years, then they were extended for another 5, then they were extended for another 6. So he went to jail in 1910 and came out actually in 1937.
Oh my God.
That's a long time.
Long time, yeah.
And in the meantime, he wanted to abolish the caste system. He made the first Patita Pavan Mandir for all people, all human beings, right? He encouraged intercaste marriage. He used to say, if there's intercaste marriage in 4 generations, people will forget what caste they are and only remain Hindu. Yeah. So when Bapu's assassination happened, which was a very sad chapter in our lives, he did not have hatred towards Mahatma Gandhi, and neither did Mahatma Gandhi have hatred towards Mr. Savarkar. They had mutual respect. They just had opposing ideology. One believed in violence, the other believed in non-violence. And they both followed it all their lives. They were both stubborn about it. But in the end, they were both asking for one thing: united India. They did not want partition. And Gandhiji did not want partition. He said, over my dead body.
Yeah.
But often happens in a revolution that the revolutionaries are left behind and the politicians take power. It happens across the world. The revolutionaries fight the battle, the politicians take the power. So that's what happened in our country. A few British-educated barristers took over the government as a prime minister and other ministers in the thing. But at that time, the partition had happened. Before independence, there were 3 parties: Muslim League, Indian National Congress, and Hindu Mahasabha. Muslim League, most leaders went to Pakistan. Due to the partition, people had seen the bloodshed over religion.
Yeah.
And lakhs of Hindus had moved to India. And they had seen, and everybody knew it was the Congress that was to blame for that partition. So the winds were going to change towards that. So when Mahatma Gandhi's assassination happened, the first thing was, should we arrest Savarkar? Because the assassin was associated with Hindu Mahasabha. And the first thing that came was that, no, he's too big a leader. We cannot arrest him unless we have judicial proof.
Okay.
Then there was a meeting that was held between the party members. And the second thing was, even if there is no judicial proof, his history and ideology says he could have done it.
Yeah.
When they accused him, the headlines across the world became Mahatma assassinated by a Hindu.
Yeah.
M.K. Gandhi assassinated by a Maratha Hindu. Right? 8,000 people were massacred. Brahmins were massacred in Maharashtra. His own brother was lynched, younger brother, Dr. Narayan Rao Savarkar. Nobody knows about it.
Nobody knows, yeah.
So, but what happened was that when the Hindu party obviously got destroyed and the Hindu unity became destroyed over Bapu's death.
Right.
Congress won unopposed in 1952, and that is how they started killing his story.
You know, even with all of this, I'll tell you an incident that happened in 2022. This is in the Karnataka Assembly, okay?
2022?
So, yeah.
Ah.
So, in the Karnataka Assembly, they unveiled his portrait along with a few other members. Okay? They had pictures of Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel ji, then they had pictures, portrait of Subhash Chandra Bose. 3-4 लोगों का photo था, and they unveiled his photo, and then the opposition party went on protest. This what happened in 2022, even after so many years.
So
why is there so much hate?
See, he did not get his due in his life, and he was vilified for so long. But somewhere the ideology that he helped form is ruling us, or is the party or the thought that is governing our country, and rather well, in my opinion. I am a citizen, I've got entitled to my opinion, rather well. So he's more relevant today.
Yeah.
So that means that somewhere his spirit is still alive and flickering and burning. People are still, through him, people are finding out that it was not only one-sided history.
Yeah.
The hunter writes the history. If the lion wrote it, he'll write, oh, his hands were shaking, the first shot went over there. Oh, I came there, I saw the lion, I shot him.
Yeah.
So that thing has to be changed, and it is not only happening in India. All across the world, people are discovering their heroes or rediscovering their heroes as villains. Like, for example, Columbus, who discovered America. There's a Columbus Day in America, but he was a slave trader.
Yeah.
Right? So other side of history people are seeing, and this will happen because earlier all information was controlled through only newspapers, and they were controlled by a certain kind of educated intelligentsia. But now with the advent of social media, it's become more democratic.
Yeah.
That is why a lot of countries have right-winged governments, because people are now more aware and have more nationalist pride and taking more pride in their own culture, their language, and what they stand for, which otherwise they could not.
True.
Yeah.
You know, you've done so much research. I can clearly see that. I really want to know what was the process like. कितने मतलब महीने या साल आपने बिताए to research about him?
Well, I started reading about him because when I discovered that, hey, I don't know much about him. First was
and you're a history lover, right?
I was a history lover. In school, though I had to take maths and science in class 11th and 12th. I only liked history and geography.
Okay.
I didn't give a damn about much. I liked languages, I liked English, I liked Hindi. But I was always an arts kind of a student, which I could not take because my father was a doctor. Okay. So, and I said, I don't know much about him. Why? Kalapani, Veer Savarkar. What else? Nothing, zero.
Yeah.
So then when I read history books, which were written again by a certain bent of a mind people, the armed revolution contributed nothing except for a paragraph of these people existed and they tried many things but nothing worked out, which is a fallacy. Armed revolution was a big underground secretive network where a lot of people in all provinces were secretly in touch with each other. All revolutionaries were sending their people to this organization. There was exchange going on. There were secret societies in India, in Europe, in England, and there were arms being smuggled across the seas. There were bomb manuals being smuggled across seas. People were going to other countries and forming alliances with Britain's enemies, right? With Japan, with Germany especially, and with France at a point of time. He escaped in France, in Marseille. He jumped the boat through a porthole when he went to the Louvre, pretending to go to the Louvre, and he swam across to the land, and there history would have been different. That's what Mazzini, his hero, did. Yeah. History would have been different. But when he went there and he could not find any way out, they kept following him, so he caught hold of some French policemen and he said, "Arrest me." And he was in a frenzy and he was in a loincloth and he looked like something else. He says, "Arrest me." Yeah. And they did not understand English. He says, "I'm a political prisoner, arrest me, arrest me." And the British came with the Indian Sipahis and they took him from there. There was a big hullabaloo across the world, from America, New York and Germany and France, in all across the world, in Russia, there was a big hullabaloo about this because England does not have an extradition treaty.
True.
So how could they come to another country and arrest somebody from that land? There was a commission that happened in the International Court where the Israel case is right now, in Hague. There was a commission that was put for Savarkar, that he should be given back to the French as a political prisoner. But between England, Germany, France, there was a deal that was done. Okay. I don't know who did it. And he was sent to 2 lifetimes. He was not even given a proper trial.
Yeah. You mentioned that in the trailer also. I
saw
that.
Yeah.
What is that one thing about Savarkar ji that attracted you the most, and then that made you say that, yes, I want to do this?
The unsungness, the underdog, the vilification. I felt that it was very unfair, and I felt that I had to stand up and fight for him.
That's so true. And how did you prepare for this role? Physically, though, we can see so many different changes, right? Ek mein you're muscular, ek mein you're so thin, and you can see that kadak jawline and all of that. So physically, emotionally, mentally, preparation kaisa tha?
It was a roller coaster ride because I had co-written it. So I needed all scripts that I've ever done as an actor. I know them inside out, sometimes more than other people. And I'm always on the ball, and I usually follow the screenplay. And of course, there are basic characteristics to every human being that you play. And then you make that into a larger thing. And in this case, I paid the least amount of attention to me while acting.
Really?
I was always paying attention to the cinematography, to the other characters, to the scene work and all that. That oftentimes I used to forget to take my own shot. And I said, "Okay, move on, let's put the camera here." And then it's like, "Your Savarkar's shot we have not taken." VDS we used to call it. VDS's shot we have not taken. I said, "Oh, damn, shit. I have not buzzed my hair today. There's that, makeup." And I used to feel very restless. I used to have a lot of fight with my hair, makeup people. "Come on, I have to go to the set, I go to the set." So in that sense, it was a frenzyful thing. And being starving and underweight as an actor is a luxury. Being starving and underweight as a director is a curse, because you lose patience. You don't have patience, and you're hungry, and people are having lunch breaks, evening nashta break, that break, and you're just a person sitting there hungry. And because when you're hungry, you have more energy actually.
Yeah, true.
So that was a very big thing, which I think everybody suffered, me as a hangry person on set. But I used to tell them beforehand, "Look, I'm going through this. And if you understand, you understand. If you don't, you don't." Yeah. I wanted to make a movie. I didn't really care.
Yeah. And when you talk about weight loss, how much weight do you actually lose?
I had lost about 30 to 32 kilos by the end of it. I was doing Inspector Avinash when I was doing when I started working on this, and in that I had a little paunch, and a guy who eats and drinks, and indisciplined life of sleeping and getting up at all hours and all that. And to go to this, which was around 62, and then I hit 60 in Kalapani.
Massive transformation.
Oh no, but that was okay. I mean, I've done it before, but to keep it on and fight against odds for 2 years just gave me joint pains and many other things. I'm very lucky that my sister Anjali Hooda has been a pillar of strength in my journey, in my life generally. And with these things, she was always around and, making sure blood tests were done very often. And whatever minerals and vitamins we had to adjust or something. Okay, you have to eat something for these many days, otherwise, So all these things happening, and she was also quite at her wit's end that, that I'm going through this. But she said, okay, she said, I won't let you die, just do a good job.
Oh God. Yeah, this is your debut as a writer, as a director as well, right? So how do you maintain a balance between these various roles? And does it get challenging at times, as you mentioned, right? Like when you were starving, as an actor, it's great, but as a director, it just drains you out of your energy.
It was very, very challenging. And one thing that happens to every human being is that they lose patience when they're starving. That's the first thing that happens. And you get too much energy and you want to say something even softly, but it comes up, so it's got so much energy. So that was very hard. My co-writing I did with Utkarsh Naithani, who's a wonderful, wonderful writer. And we wrote actually the screenplay finally in 3 nights.
In 3 nights?
Yeah.
Wow.
The main screenplay we wrote in 3 nights. And then, of course, you keep improving it. We wrote in 3 nights. We fought like cats and dogs, but we did it.
Yeah, and you've also produced this movie, right?
Yes, so ultimately I had to step in as a producer to make sure that the movie gets his legs and quality that is required and the kind of effort that has gone into it.
Yeah. Is there a favorite dialogue from the movie? I know it's a very difficult thing to ask because you must have had so many favorite dialogues, but if you could just share one with us.
There is one dialogue which, when Yamuna Bai, his wife, played by Ankita Lokhande, comes to meet him in Dongri jail just before he's going to be shipped to Kalapani. He says to her, he says, I'm only sorry to you. And तो वो बोलती है कि नहीं, आपने मुझसे पूछा था जब when they got married and मैंने भी हाँ की थी. बस पता नहीं था कि ये दिन भी देखना पड़ेगा. तो he says to her, शायद यही क्रांति है. शायद हमें अपने घर में आग लगानी होगी ताकि हजारों लाखों घरों में स्वतंत्रता का दीप चल सके.
Wow.
I like that line. And at that time, going to Kalapani was going to death.
कभी आपको ऐसे डर नहीं लगा कि ट्रेलर देख के मुझे लगा कि as soon as real stories come out, people make this narrative that अच्छा ये इलेक्शन के बारे में है या वायलेंस के बारे में है या फिर इस्लाम के बारे में एक प्रोपेगेंडा जैसे बना देते हैं. तो आपको ऐसे कभी डर नहीं लगा कि you're making this movie and it's such a political sensitive movie, right? Especially in this day and age.
I was advised not to take this project up at all.
Yeah. And you still went for it.
Yes, because when I read the injustice that was being done with him, when I read more about him and how he's being portrayed, that irked me on. And I was told that you'll be labeled from a certain party, you'll be called a Sanghi, you'll be called a this, you'll be called a that. So my question was, if I was to make a movie about Mr. Nehru, as sincerely as I've had made Mr. Savarkar, what would you call me then? So, herein lies, I, as an artist, sincerely tried to tell a true story, and I have not shied away from his so-called petitions and his dislike for the Muslim politics, or his dislike for non-violence, or his accusation in Bapu's assassination, or many such things. I have not stayed away from them at all. I've taken him. But what I have done is that I've not taken a real stand in the sense that I've told the story as it is. Because I created the circumstances in which this man became who he was. We are all a result of our circumstances. So I've created those circumstances and how this individual, this giant of an individual responded to them humanly. And it is for you to decide, go home and decide whether he was Veer or not.
You know, when you say this, I want to ask you that I'm sure that this movie is going to talk a lot about the history and the ideology, those aspects.
It is
right?
actually scripted and screenplayed like a thriller.
Like a thriller. It's
not a preachy movie.
Right. Yeah.
It's not a preachy movie at all. Why say when you can do?
Yeah. And do we also get to see a human side to?
Oh, of course, of course. I've had to reduce it because at the end of the day, he was human, but I had to reduce it a little so that we know at no moment forget that he was a hero as well.
Yeah. You know, I'm sure you've done so much research, right? But there's a very thin line between, I'm guessing there's a very thin line between what you can learn and what you can adapt from him and what you can show on screen. So was that a challenge for you?
There wasn't much of a thin line at all. There wasn't much of I decided, I just said, I'm not going to keep that thin line.
Right.
But of course, it's done aesthetically. Now, so what I did was I got the whole history right, events right and everything, dates, this, that and that. And then at a point of time, I told my co-writer, okay, we were very diligent about the history, research and everything. Then I said, okay, now I'm going to make a movie out of it.
Right.
I'm going to put 53 years in 2.5 hours. Or I took 250 minutes. But I'm going to put that in 2 hours, 50 minutes. So I have to fly with it.
Yeah.
So when it came to the final execution, I was making a movie, right? But it was well researched.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, it's an engaging movie. I mean, people just go and say, oh, it makes me breathless kind of a film, and it's got great background score, and I've visually treated it for younger people.
Yeah.
Right, and all those things. So because my thing was to start a movement that people should wear his T-shirts to college.
Really?
They wear Che Guevara's T-shirt. They wear Bhagat Singh's T-shirt. Why not his
him?
T-shirt?
Yeah.
And he was a man like that. He was a man whose T-shirt you should wear. Yeah. So that's what my thing. And I wanted to start a movement, not only to learn more about him, but to discover more of our history that has been brushed under the carpet and bring it to fore.
Yeah. You know, another thing that I've observed is that you use this hashtag called "Who Killed His Story," right? Which also, I don't know if the interpretation is
Who
wrong.
Killed History?
History, yeah.
Yes, it's a very cleverly done thing.
Very, very clever.
Yeah.
So is this, I mean, you took this decision to make it in that way, and was it like that?
No, it developed into that thing when I discovered more and more. My attempt was no assassination of the characters of anybody. Right. In fact, in this, while learning about Mr. Savarkar, I learned more about Mr. Gandhi, and my admiration just grew more for him. He really was, he walked the talk. He believed in what he did and he never budged from it. Yeah. And he was able to galvanize millions and millions of people with his lathi and dhoti kind of imaging and his satyagrahas and all that. He was a man of his own thing. But him and Indian National Congress were not the same thing. So, and it is the Indian National Congress that killed his story.
Yeah. But tell me something, this movie is not to show that there is hate towards any particular person, right? It's not about that, or it's not any religious aspect that is coming in. It's purely him and his...
It is a reaction. So what has happened in India is that there was Muslim League and then there was a Hindu Mahasabha formed. There was a Khilafat movement and then there was a Hindutva, right? There was a separate state for separate electorates for Muslims. There was special country that was being made for Muslims. And then there was a reaction of Mr. Savarkar or anybody towards it. So it was an action, reaction. And you have to, like Mr. Jinnah, I've shown he was against Khilafat, but then he made an Islamic Republic of Pakistan. Things keep changing, kept changing. Huh.
You know, when you say this, I have this line from the teaser that is really like stayed with me. It is, Gandhi ji bure nahi the, लेकिन वो अहिंसावादी सोच पे अड़े नहीं रहते तो हमको बहुत पहले ही आज़ादी मिल जाती, right?
Right.
So Tell me something. When people are going to watch this movie, they're going to
Right.
say that, okay, it's a propaganda against who, so and so person, right? Is are you going to try? Are you going to
Justify that.
justify that, or
Okay, so some things are not written the way they are.
Okay.
Some things I have understood by reading different things, and I have deduced them.
Okay.
There was, in the first decade of 1900s, there was a whole lot of assassinations that happened of the British. There were secret societies which were getting in touch with each other. The Bengal Secret Society, Punjab, Bombay province and Madras province. Also, there were secret societies being formed in America, in England, all over Europe. They were all coming together. They were smuggling arms and bomb manuals and writing notes of warning people, of writing note to the army, to think there were negotiations going on with Germany. There was a government declared in Germany. So it was all coming to fore, and they saw it. First, they jailed Lokmanya Tilak, and anybody who was a hardliner or with the armed revolution, they sent out of India. So they do not even infect the inmates in the jail.
Yeah.
So Tilak ji was sent to Mandalay
Okay.
in Burma. And soon after that, Vinayak was sent to Kalapani. So that movement broke. That momentum that was building, had that not broken, at the same time, there was an armed revolution by the Bolsheviks happening in Russia.
Okay.
And they won. They overthrew the Tsar in a few years. And funnily enough, it was Gordon Ramsay, the Prime Minister of Britain, who was the first one to recognize Russia as the biggest free country in the world. But they won it through armed revolution. But in India, they were not. They were condemning armed revolution. Politics.
Politics, yeah.
Politics.
You know, when you say politics, what is your take on the current scenario
अरे
in
पॉलिटिक्स
India?
सेट पे होती है, फिल्मी दुनिया में
वो
होती
तो
है,
सब जगह होती है।
हर एक जगह होती है, तो हम तो उससे बच ही नहीं सकते.
But यहाँ पे आजकल हम देख रहे हैं कि the youngsters are not interested. Not many, I can't generalize, it can't be a generic statement, but बहुत youth बोलते हैं कि हरे हमको politics में घुसना ही नहीं है, we don't want to vote and all that, but it is our right to do so, right?
It is our right to do so, and this time there has been a appeal by the Prime Minister and many such people. Even I have tweeted that or X'd that or whatever, that we should vote. Voting is what's going to change. If you don't like something over the country, vote for it. And see, that's why I made the movie the way I made it. It's a cool movie.
Yeah, I'm sure it is.
It's a cool movie. So I want them to watch it as a cool movie, and then you take your politics with you, if whatever you want.
Yeah, and as you mentioned, it's not preachy, which is a great thing,
It's not
because
preachy.
usually movies like this can get preachy, and then you're like,
No. I was very careful of that, because I myself don't like those preachy things. If you preach to people, they don't listen to you.
yeah.
If you make them laugh or make them scared or make them engaged, then they don't know that they are getting the message. They only get it when they get home.
Yeah, it's like you said, it's a thriller.
It's a thriller.
What is that one thing you've learned from him on the whole?
Oh,
I'm sure there are many, but
there are
one
many,
thing that
many,
has stayed with you that you've learned from him.
many things. Writing, being more clear in your thought, be more believing in your instinct, perseverance, patience, rather impatience, and that if you are really wholeheartedly on your path that you believe is right, many years after your death, people will be debating you.
That is true. That is so true, and I know also. You know, I had another question on the same topic, that I'm sure you've had your own ideologies, right, as a person. But, you know, after doing the research and after making this movie, has it changed a little bit in a positive way?
Yeah, I have my own ideologies in the sense I do, but I do agree with his ideology as well. He's, if you read him with the depth and sense and comprehension with which I have been fortunate enough to do, he had a lot of right things to say and think and encourage in people.
Yeah. And does this movie cover all the controversies that's there?
Yes.
All of them?
Yes.
And all the revolutionary things that he's done?
Yes, I mean, it's a movie. How much could I put in a movie? But
Yeah.
I've put in as much as you can, and it's a very comprehensive story that flows. and it gives you the sense of emotion and the politics of the time.
Yeah.
Ironically, the man of non-violence, Bapu,
Yeah.
Mahatma Gandhi, died of a bullet.
Yes.
The man of violence fasted unto death. He took a samadhi.
Samadhi, yeah, read this.
Man of non-violence died by a bullet, and the man of violence died by
Samadhi.
आमरण अनशन.
Yeah.
आमरण अनशन बहुत लोगों ने किए, कोई नहीं मरा.